The forest was still, cloaked in the quiet green of an ordinary afternoon. From high above, the fire dragon watched over his domain, his keen eyes scanning the familiar canopy. Everything seemed peaceful. There was no smoke, no rising heat, no telltale scent of burning wood. And yet, something was wrong. A subtle sense of movement flickered at the edge of his perception, a ripple in the stillness, where nothing should have been moving at all. Intrigued, the dragon tilted his great wings and descended, gliding silently toward the source of the disturbance. As he flew lower, a strange pattern emerged on the forest floor. A narrow, winding path of scorched leaves cut through the undergrowth. It was as if a line of fire had blazed a trail and then simply vanished, leaving behind only its blackened signature. This wasn't the work of lightning or a careless campfire. A normal fire spreads, consuming everything in its path. This fire, however, seemed to have a destination. It was a fire that followed. He ventured deeper, flying just above the treetops. Below him, the phenomenon continued. Small, phantom flames would suddenly flicker into existence among the ferns and bushes, dance for a moment with an eerie, silent intensity, and then disappear as quickly as they had come. A heartbeat later, they would reappear farther ahead, along the same winding path. The forest animals were in a state of confused panic. Squirrels chattered nervously, deer darted back and forth, and birds flew in erratic circles. They couldn't escape the danger because they couldn't predict where it would strike next. The fire wasn't just spreading. It was leaping, teleporting through the woods with an unnatural purpose. 2. The dragon landed with a soft thud, his heavy claws barely disturbing the leaf litter. He tucked his wings and stood perfectly still, a silent, scaled mountain amidst the trees. He needed to understand this phantom fire. Watching intently, he realized the flames weren't moving on their own. They weren't a force of nature. They were being carried. Then he saw him. Man, a traveler, crashing through the forest in a blind panic. His eyes were wide with terror, and he ran without looking back, convinced some terrible beast was on his heels. He was so consumed by his fear that he was completely unaware of the real danger he was creating. Clinging to the fabric of his worn cloak were glowing, red embers. As he ran, they would fall from the cloth, igniting the dry leaves wherever he passed. The brief flare-ups were the phantom flames the dragon had seen from above. The fire wasn't chasing the man. The fire was following his fear. With a powerful beat of his wings, the dragon rose back into the air, circling high above the fleeing traveler. He saw the path of fear and the trail of fire it left behind. Fighting fire with fire would only make things worse. He needed a different approach. He descended once more, but this time he landed gently on the path directly in front of the man. The traveler stopped dead in his tracks, his heart hammering against his ribs as he stared up at the magnificent, terrifying creature before him. But dragon didn't roar or breathe a plume of flame. Instead, he radiated a calm, steady warmth. Using the incredible control he had honed over centuries, he projected a precise, focused heat toward the man's cloak. The embers attached to the fabric glowed brightly for a second and then burned themselves out, turning to harmless ash without so much as sinking the cloth or harming the man. The source of the fire was gone. Now, he had to calm its carrier. The dragon lowered his head, his gaze steady and reassuring. He gave a soft, low rumble, not a threat, but a sound of guidance. Then he turned and began to walk slowly, leading the way. The terrified traveler, seeing no aggression in the great beast, cautiously followed. The dragon guided him through the safest parts of the woods, away from thickets and hazards, until they finally emerged from the tree line into open, grassy plains. Once the traveler was on safe ground, the lingering threat in the forest simply ceased to exist. With no new embers to fuel it, the phantom fire had nowhere left to go. It faded quietly into memory. The forest grew, still again, the animals slowly returning to their routines, the scent of smoke replaced by the smell of damp earth and pine. The dragon watched the man disappear over the horizon before turning his gaze back to his peaceful domain. He had learned a valuable lesson that day. Some fires don't need to be fought. They simply need to be understood. Some fires chase movement, and the only way to stop them is to calm the fear that carries them.